Hello, and welcome back to the Scrumpy Kiwi. So, as you can probably see, this is going to be another chat. Basically, the reason for that is because I've got nothing to show you, and that's not a bad thing because we're going to do that some other day. But this video is going to be about where I was during the 3-year gap. And I'm trying not to say and I'm trying not to go or anything like that. It's gonna be a struggle because I absolutely use those as like a stopgap when my brain is trying to think. And I can feel myself wanting to do it literally every second that I'm speaking. And I'm really fighting the urge. So if these sentences that I am saying, that's not a normal way people speak, but we'll keep on going. If it sounds slightly strange, it's because I'm very consciously trying not to do it. And the conversation that I'm going to be having with you is going to be intense. So I don't want to be umming and ahhing through it. I want to be able to have a very concise talk and clear conversation. So forgive me if it sounds weird or like a lizard person is speaking to you. It's just me trying to not sound so socially awkward, which I am, but it's me pretending that I'm not. Also, this conversation is going to be about mental illness. It is going to have some not very pleasant subject matter. If you don't want to hear that, I totally understand. Please don't feel like you have to listen to it any more than you want to. I mean, that's absolutely your choice, but just don't put yourself through it. There's no need for you to do that to yourself. Just, go off and do something much more, cheery. So, I've also realised I say quite a lot as well, and I want to stop doing that as well. So, we've got a list of the 3 bad things I do. Maybe I can do some sort of aversion therapy in the middle of this to try and stop myself. Like maybe I'll bite my finger every time I do it. I don't know if that's going to work when I'm trying to talk, but we'll find out. Okay. So the last 3 years have been quite busy for everyone. And busy, I use that word because it absolutely hasn't been busy. What does that even mean? I just did it. No, I failed. 3 minutes, nearly 3.5 minutes, and I've already done it. Busy's not the right word. I think I used busy as a I just used it because we absolutely haven't been busy, have we? We've all been stuck inside our homes and not able to do anything. It's been rubbish, hasn't it? It's been really not good at all. We've all found our lives interrupted and just ground to a halt, basically. I don't think anyone would have thought that this time 2 years ago, maybe, a little bit less, more, that if you'd said in the UK, especially, I don't know about the rest of the world, I know everyone's done things different, etc., etc. I'm not here to talk about that. But in the UK, if you'd been told that you would have spent, 6 months, maybe, overall, I can't really. Time lost all sense of meaning really during the pandemic, so I don't really know. I can't really work it out, but about, let's say, 6 months. If anyone had said that you were going to spend 6 months inside your own home without being able to go and socialize with your friends, with your family, whatever, you'd have been like, no, what? How is that going to happen? How is that going to be a thing that's going to happen in the 21st century? But it did. It did happen. And it was surreal, and it was just so outside of the scope of what pretty much any of us have ever had to deal with. Some people were comparing it to like the Blitz. I have no frame of reference for that, but I mean, I guess I can understand that comparison. But it meant, for a lot of us, it meant dealing with a lot of issues that for some of us we didn't even know we had. And for some of us, it meant dealing with issues we absolutely knew we had and were very, very aware could become quite bad during the isolation. And so for me, personally, as I have discussed on this channel before, my mental illness was, well, I had, let's call it a flare-up, which is a quite flowery way of saying things got very bad for me. Very bad. Probably, I did it. Said it again. And I did it again. Ugh. Things got very bad for me. They got very, very bad. About as bad as it can get without getting irreversibly so. And I'm trying to be a little bit diplomatic with the language I'm using, because it is painful to talk about, but it is also, it's somewhat unreal to talk about, because the person who was in control during those very bleak points, it almost feels like it wasn't me. I mean, it was, absolutely, but it's so detached from how I feel now that it's hard to believe that that was me. And I very much learned during the lockdown and the isolations and just the whole pandemic that, for me personally, and I can only speak personally, my sympathies absolutely to anyone who's going through anything similar or, different but still as painful. You have my undying sympathy. It is such a, mental illness is such a cruel, I mean, any illness is just horrible, but mental illness is one of those ones which it's particularly cruel because it uses your most powerful asset, your mind, and it uses it against you. And it does it in such a way that ideas and thoughts that you would never ever normally consider become the most rational of things. And that is so scary because you just can't imagine what it is like to have your own mind convince you of doing some truly terrifying things, some just unbelievably self-destructive things, unless you've been there. It is surreal, and for me, I had to accept that the pain and the trauma is what my therapist calls it. I think trauma personally, I think trauma is it's quite a heavy term. I think for me, trauma is something first responders get or soldiers get in the trenches. It's a very trauma is a very powerful word. The same like PTSD. Obviously, that's my stigma. It's my bias. Perhaps that's a better word coming through that shows how I don't or I didn't understand as well as I thought I did what mental illness, how it can affect you, what it can be, what it means. But I clearly have trauma from my past that was very much affected by the isolation, that in during that period I could only look inwards because there was no looking outwards. There was nothing to do. And I looked in and I saw a person I really did not like. In fact, I hated, and I don't use that word lightly. I absolutely detested. And I was slowly doing everything I could to hurt this person until I was very literally hurting this person. And then I was very much thinking about, by the end, how to get rid of this person. And there was unfortunately no way of splitting me from this version of myself I didn't like, so it meant everyone had to go. Both parts. Fortunately for me, unfortunately for her, my wife recognizes the signs. And I say that because I feel very guilty that my wife has to become my carer in these situations and my guardian as well. She recognized the signs. She made me begin doing the things I needed to do, which was calling for help, speaking to my GP, speaking to mental health services, getting the help that I needed. It meant changing medications, changing doses, finding what worked. It meant, once again, talking to strangers, healthcare professionals, no doubt, but strangers, talking to them about some very intimate, private thoughts and feelings and experiences. Very uncomfortable, but very necessary. And it helped. It got me through the worst of it. Am I still in therapy? Yes. Am I still going to be taking medication? Yep, probably till the day I finally pop off this mortal coil. It is just the reality of my existence. I need those to keep me from doing some very silly things to myself. And if I can relieve my loved ones, my friends, my family of the stress and the concern and the fear that they must feel when I'm in the midst of a really bad episode, as I call them, if me taking tablets relieves them of all of that, that's something I'm more than happy to do. If going to therapy relieves them of that, I am more than happy to do that, because the one thing that I am so aware of and I feel so guilty about is the amount of pain it causes to the people around me. Myself, not so bothered. I feel like I deserve it, if anything. I feel I deserve the pain for a number of different reasons. But other people, no. I feel they are the victims. They are the collateral damage that I cause, that this illness causes. And so I absolutely want to try and do whatever I can to alleviate them of that. But again, that guilt that I feel is also a symptom of the mental illness. So it's a double-edged sword, if that's the right term to use. It's whatever it is, but it is a paradox, contradiction, blah, 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 whatever. It's just a very weird, messy situation. But I'm rational at the moment and doing what I can to help them helps me. And so I do it. And accepting that the pain will never be gone. It will just be less keen. It'll be less sharp pain. That had to be, it was excuse the pun, a tough pill to swallow, but it is my reality. That is my reality. And if I have to accept that, well, I have to accept that. That's what I had to learn to accept. And that pain will sometimes become I will become very aware of that pain, and it will mean being proactive or accepting, other people's help. I'll reconstruct that sentence with actual human words. I will have to be proactive at getting help, or I will have to accept the help that is given to me. And that is what I have to learn to accept, to deal with, for that to be part of my life. For others, I can't speak for others. Everyone has to face this in their own way. I have no judgments about how people choose to face mental illness. I have lived with a pain which I found almost unendurable, a psychological pain that I very much would have done anything to get away from. And for others, sometimes they are forced into making that choice on whether or not they can endure it. And I don't think any of us can answer the question, could we endure the unendurable? Because how can you, unless you've been there? And I make no judgments. I cast no aspersions. If you are in the worst of places and you are feeling that there is only one thing you can do to alleviate that pain, I am not going to tell you that you are selfish or you are a coward or you are weak or anything like that. I will never say that, because it is not you you are not making this choice because you want to. You are being forced to make this choice because you are in an impossible situation. All I would ask you is, before you do anything, speak to someone. Speak to a friend, speak to a family member, speak to a loved one, speak to someone you trust, speak to a figurehead in the local community, speak to a doctor, a GP, speak to someone on the phone. And I'm going to put in the description the contact information I can find for UK-based mental health services. If you live in other countries, type into your search engine, whatever you use, mental health, your country, and then services, and just call one of those numbers and speak to someone. And don't sugarcoat it, don't dress it up, just be honest. Be honest. Say the words, say the thoughts you are thinking. Yeah? Don't try and make them make sense, just say the words. And someone can talk to you, and there is someone who can listen to you, and then go from there. I'm not going to tell you how it pans out. I don't know. I didn't know how it was going to pan out for me. But that's what you need to do. That's what you need to do before you do anything else. Just speak to someone. Once you've done that, just see where it goes. Okay? And going back to, life during the pandemic, it was rough. It was really, really rough. And it was rough for my family. It was rough for my friends. Once again, for the second time in my life, I felt like I had lost everything I'd worked up to, everything I'd built. It wasn't a lot, but it was what I had built was mine. I felt like I'd lost all of that. I felt like I'd lost my friends, my family, what respect I may have had. Just did it again. When you feel like you've lost all of that, again, it's when you feel like, well, I've lost everything. What's the point? You've got to remember, or you've got to try and remember, any thoughts you're having at that time, they are 100% coming through the prism of your mental illness. It is not a rational thought. It is entirely an irrational thought. Yes, things are bad, things are rough. But when you get a cold, when you get the flu, when you break a bone, it hurts, it's painful, and it absolutely creates a hiccup in the road that is your life. It does not ruin everything though. And yes, mental health, depending upon its severity, can absolutely be worse than getting the sniffles. But what I'm trying to say is that you are ill. And this is a bad time, but it is not the end of your life. It is not everything being wiped away. That is just the thoughts in your head saying that. And that's why you've got to remember that once you get better, or once that pain eases off, you will have a life to go back to. And people understand nowadays way more than they used to. And that's why I always say, that's why I'm saying now, talk to someone, because so many more people understand. We're so much more open about talking about this subject. And that's why I'm talking about it now, because I'm not ashamed to say that I've struggled with mental illness. I'm not ashamed to say that I have mental illness. I've been diagnosed by a therapist, by a professional. I have medical notes that say this. It's part of my reality. It's part of my existence. It's part of who I am. It doesn't define me, but it is a part of myself that I have to be aware of and I have to manage daily. And I accept that as much as I accept that I am bald. It's a reality. I can't hide from it. It doesn't define me, but it is something that is, a significant part of me. And it has to be dealt with when it needs to be dealt with, in the same way that I have to polish my big old bald head. That is the reality of my existence. It's the reality of my life. It may have to become the reality of your life if you're listening to this, but it is better than the alternative. How do I know that? Because I've been through it. I'm telling you it gets better. It doesn't get perfect. And those problems that you had, they're going to still be there. But you're going to be able to live your life without those being the only part of your life that you can see. And you may find that by carrying on, you find new people, new things, new places, new ways of living your life that make that pain less and that keep that pain less more of the time than when that pain is very, very keen. And I think that's all we can do. For me, playing tabletop games has become one of the ways that I do this. It gives me a sense of fulfillment. It lets me express myself. It expresses me. That may sound a little bit weirder than I meant it to, but I think I know what I mean, and hopefully so do you. But it is my outlet. It is the thing that I hope I leave behind. And yes, they may just be plastic toy soldiers, but it's proof that at some point in my life I did something creative. I didn't destroy, I didn't hurt, I didn't harm, I didn't make someone's life less. I just tried to make my life more by bringing something new to the world, an expression of my humanity. That may sound a bit grandiose, a bit overly dramatic, perhaps, but it's me putting something out into the world and saying, this is who I am, this is what I can do, this is potential and creativity, and my mind and my heart and my soul and my passion all put into this small thing that I enjoy, that I love, for lack of a better word. And that's how you fight. That's how you fight your demons. You don't fight them by feeding them with self-inflicted pain, or by refusing to fight them in the first place and hoping they'll go away. You fight them with friends, with family. You fight them with the things that make you you. You fight them by building, not destroying. And hopefully that is enough just for today to keep all of that cold, dark, painful stuff. Just, it's enough to keep it outside the walls. And it may be times when those walls crack. There may be times when they crumble. There may be times when they just completely fall down. But what makes you you cannot be completely destroyed or smothered by this darkness. It's going to feel like it. 100% is going to feel like it. You know? You can't escape that truth. That's the nature of mental illness. But you just endure if you can. Just cling on to that slither of hope. Not even hope, that memory. That memory that you have been here before. The pain does subside. And when it does subside, you can grab onto those things that make you you and use those to pull you out. It's not a fix for everyone. I wish it was, but it's not. And I'm not going to insult anyone by saying it is. But if you've listened to this, maybe you found something in my words that helps you. I hope so. If you want to share in the comments your own experiences, please do. If you want to show this to someone because you think it may help them, please do. I'm not an expert. I wouldn't pretend to be. I'm just a guy sharing my own personal experience, This is a train of thought put out into the world. Maybe it helps. Great. I hope everyone's okay who hears this. I hope that you are in a good place at least. And if you're ever in a bad place, maybe this is somewhere you can come and it can remind you that there is something more than the pain. Because there is. That's all I can promise you. There is something more than the pain. It won't go away. I can't make it go away. But there is something more than the pain. I'm going to put those numbers in the description. Please look at them. Please use them if you need them. Please share them if there's someone who you think needs them. It is not weakness. It is not a sign that you are bad or broken or wrong or anything like that. Being mentally ill, having a mental illness, it is natural. It is part of who we all are. In the same way we all get sick, we all can suffer from mental illness. It's how we handle it. That's what matters. And I've made the mistake of not handling it in the past, and I've been fortunate enough to know when I needed to deal with it. And I can tell you that the second one of those two things, that's what helped me the most. Or helped in the long run, should I say. But you've got to do what you feel is right. So guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. It's 30 minute long video chat thing. Quite intense, quite long. Hopefully it made sense. There were some parts I was conscious of what I was saying. Other parts I dropped back into the conversation and realised my mouth was still moving. So okay. And I just did an I'm pretty sure I went for quite a while without doing that, and I just did it again. Maybe that's a good thing that I'm doing it less. Maybe that's a bad thing that when I was less paying attention to it, it snuck back up on me. Thank you guys for listening, if you're still listening. I appreciate it a lot, as always. Please stay safe out there. Please, carry on doing what you love. Painting up those things, painting up those tiny little plastic soldiers, making models and rolling dice. Next video I do is going to be absolutely more about the actual hobby. I will be showing you what I have been working on. So that's something to maybe look forward to, perhaps. But yeah, next video, actual model making stuff. There's going to be things moving on the screen, including my weird golem-like fingers. So that's something to look forward to. Very exciting. Again, you will not have to look at my face. You will just have to deal with my weird quasi-child man voice. I don't know. I listen to my voice. Sometimes I think it sounds like a really weird child, and other times I think it sounds like a really weird grown-up. And they've been mushed together to make some weird mutant hybrid voice. It's definitely not a voice for radio. I think someone once described my voice as being the voice of someone that if it came on the radio, you would definitely switch radio stations, which weirdly hurt more than anything I think anyone's ever said to me in my life. So that's a thing. So, be that as it is. Stay safe, guys, all right? Take it easy, and I will see you next time on the Scrumpy Kiwi. I won't see you. I keep saying I'm going to see you. I will not see you. That sounds sinister. Bye, everyone. See you later. No, again. So weird. So weird. Take it easy. Bye.